everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Number One Comics Podcast. I'm your host, Jonah. With me is Bill. Bill, how you doing today?
I'm great,
Good.
Jonah.
So, when this episode comes out, it'll be like the end of the year.
Yeah.
Do you have plans for New Year's?
Man. I don't think I can even stay up till midnight anymore.
Yeah. I'm thinking of just doing like staying in, doing like a spa thing.
Yeah.
Like wine, cheese, massages, hot tub.
Really?
Maybe be in bed by like 9:30. That's like my ideal New Year's.
Yeah.
So you're not invited. So I'm just throwing
Damn it.
Well,
one of these days.
We're back with another episode, and we are talking about Wetworks number 1. This is published by Image Comics. Cover date June of 1994. Had a cover price of $1.95. The plot and pencils on this was done by Whilce Portacio, and the plot and dialogue was done by Brandon Choi. Well, did you read this back when this came out? Real quick question.
I didn't.
No?
Actually.
Okay.
Image was very few and far between for me. It was mostly Marvel.
All right. I was all in on the Image shit.
I can see why after reading this.
Wildcats, Youngblood. I was all in on it. So anyway, Wetworks in particular, this was originally intended to be part of the original launch of Image titles. So with the Spawn, the Wildcats, the Youngblood. Mm-hmm. And so it was originally supposed to hit back in 1992. However, it was put on hold until 1994 because, sadly, Whilce Portacio's sister had passed away.
Oh.
So due to the family things, the book was delayed about 2 years. Mm-hmm. I had first learned of this team on the cover of issue 15 of Wizard Magazine.
Okay.
That was actually the second Wizard Magazine that I ever bought. Okay. And they were on the cover of it. It's kind of a fold-out cover. Had like all 5 or 6 of them standing there looking completely badass. Mm-hmm. And that issue of Wizard, that came out in like fall of 1992. Mm-hmm. And so, sadly, by the time this series actually came out, I had pretty much forgotten about it. And didn't even end up picking this book up until probably mid or early 2000s when I was getting back into comics and then kind of going back into seeing what I'd missed with a lot of things. So unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to pick up this issue or this series when it was hitting stands. Now, wet work is a term that's often applied to like murder or assassination, in which blood is spilled. I've seen it used in like close quarters combat, like spy shit or soldier stuff, right. Where they're close quarters combat, and so they're getting blood all over themselves from taking people out. Okay, that in of itself is such a badass name and title for a book. I was kind of in love with that concept from the very beginning.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about the cover. You've got the characters that are standing. This is that age, and one thing that I think Image was notorious for. And I don't know about a lot of the Marvel comics at the time, but I can think of like all of the Stormwatch comics, the majority of like, say, the Wildcats. The cover is just people standing. It doesn't show you any of the action. It doesn't give you any indication as to what's happening inside. Mm-hmm. Now, this does fold out, so you get a bit more of the cover. You do get a little bit more action, but what you see, when it's polybags is just a couple of the characters that are standing there. But the artwork looks really solid. I dig the cover, and I dig that it's a fold-out cover.
Yeah.
I think that is very cool. Let's talk a little bit about the story, and of course, spoilers are going to follow. Our story opens with a futuristic jet flying over Transylvania. Its cargo is a team of Special Forces operatives, Team 7. The team consists of characters named Jester, Grail, Mendoza, Pilgrim, and Dane. It's very much a scene that's reminiscent of like the first Predator film, where you've even got one of the characters telling the other character a joke, and then you've got some characters that are asking about what the mission is. Someone even refers to themselves as a hostage rescue team. They're like, we're not assassins kind of thing. So very, very much vibes or very much things that I've seen before. So a lot of familiarity there. Mm-hmm. Their lieutenant, he joins the team in the cargo area, and he begins filling them in on what their mission is, which, simply put, it's to infiltrate the base of one of a warring factions in a Transylvanian civil war, destroy the base, and retrieve a highly contagious biological warfare agent. We then cut to Washington, D.C., and there's a group of military types that are discussing the operation. And they're borrowing lines straight from the hit movie Navy SEALs, when it's indicated that this team of soldiers is not it's not meant to make it out alive. These guys are paid to die if necessary, I think is the exact line from Navy SEALs. Right. We then go back to Transylvania, where the team Halo jumps over their target. They're monitored by a chick that looks like she gives really aggressive hand jobs. Her name is Mother One. In her data log, she states that her mission is to dispose of anyone, friend or foe, who emerges from that base alive. Outside the base, the team learns that they're not the first ones there, and that someone's already neutralized the security sensors on the outside, and they've even left the door to the base basically open. So they head inside, where they find some toasted bad guys. Now, one of the bodies has some very suspicious-looking dental work, but the team doesn't really seem to notice that or make mention of that. Mm-hmm. They do find a hole that's been cut through the rock of the base, which takes them right to the main lab. Oh, and the timers on their demolition charges have just been activated. So they essentially have like 10 minutes before one set of explosives go off, and then like 3 minutes after that, the second set of explosives go off. So they really got like 13 minutes total to get the job finished. Once they get to the main lab, they find these large tubes of a yellowish golden liquid. Dane, the leader, he has the suspicion that they're all being played. One of the team members is able to quickly put together what the liquid is, based off of a previous month's issue of Popular Biology, which I thought I was the only one that read that book. Very impressed to see I'm not the only one. He calls it a biometalloid compound saturated and controlled by nanotech wetware. I don't know what any of that means. I missed that issue of Popular Biology. Yeah. Now, watching the team from a vent is a lady with some sort of laser gun, and she zaps the vat of the liquid, and it spills all onto one of the characters. His name's Claymore, and it basically envelops his entire body from the outside in. Meanwhile, two members of this so-called Night Tribe, these are the bad guys, they come in, and they claim that the humans are still there, and they came back to take the remaining symbiotes. They open fire on the golden-plated Claymore, but the bullets simply bounce off of them. Using knives the size of baseball bats, the team guts the two attackers, but it really isn't until one gets its head lobbed off that they stop moving. Dane gives the order to evac, but bad guy reinforcements arrive, and they're going to have to fight their way out before those charges go off. As the team plans their escape, it's noticed that Claymore's vanished. He's gone off by himself down a corridor on his own, battling a slew of bad guys, and he's getting used to his second skin as it gives him armor and enhancing his strength and his reflexes. It's only seconds before the first set of charges go off that he even realizes that the rest of the team's not even around. His worries cut short, though, because the others do join the fight, and they're now all emblazoned in this gold armor. The team, with their new armor, they are able to cut through the bad guys. They keep fighting them until the second set of charges go off. So really, the entire base is leveled at this point. It's when the dust settles, the team stands triumphant, like naked golden statues. Now, we cut back to D.C., and the suits, they're getting real-time reports from the extraction team on the outside that they're being attacked and they're being taken out by the Team 7 members, these newly powered heroes. So they scramble gunships to try and take them out. The robotic-armed Mother One that I'd mentioned earlier, she's in one of those gunships, but she quickly reveals her true self by turning gold. Then she turns on her own crew and she takes out the other. She takes out her own crew, and then she takes out the other gunships by blasting them from the sky. It's not before one of the other gunships gets a shot off, though, and blasts her out of the sky, and she drops down to the ground and basically offers the team the opportunity to join her in a war against the vampire nation. And Dana's like, yeah, all right, sounds good. Why not? Like, he was very quick to be like, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
Our last scene is of the Night Tribe at what remains of their base, and their leader, called the Prince. He essentially declares war on the humans, and it is to be continued. Let's do our thoughts first on the characters. So the team, we've got Dane, Mother One, Claymore, Dozer, Grail, Jester, and Pilgrim. Now, I don't know about you. I can't really say much about them as individual characters because they're all fairly one note in this. Right. And this is something that I've mentioned previously where it had been done right in a book like Secret Six where everyone's got a very distinct voice. Here, they do all sound almost the exact same. You could have moved those word bubbles around and it would not have changed a single part of the story. Right. And it would have still made complete sense. And I don't necessarily mean that part of it as like a compliment. What were your thoughts on any of that?
Well, I mean, I do see a lot of like 90s influence in this, and maybe even some influence from like some action films of the 80s. Like you'd mentioned the, like the opening scene, or not really the opening scene. Well, the opening scene in the comic, I guess, but like the
scene in Predator and the
scene of like, the like helicopter scene in Predator. Yep. They're talking about like chemical warfare, which was kind of a thing during the 90s with like the Gulf War and stuff like that. Yep.
This comic is very much a product of its time.
Yeah.
In terms of the tropes that it's lifting heavily from, the art style, the dialogue. This is the thing that I would have gone to the video store on a Friday night with my parents and rented and popped into the VHS and like fucking loved every minute of it.
Yeah, it's very like guns blazing, blood and guts, explosions, all that stuff you loved when you were a kid.
So even the bad guys, the International Operations Division, or IO as it's referred to, and the vampires, even they're pretty much stock, and very cookie cutter, and just in terms of not necessarily in look wise, but in terms of how they speak, how they behave.
Right.
Even one of the things that was challenging for me, even the characters before they turn gold even look relatively similar.
Yeah.
Grail looks like Pilgrim, even though Pilgrim's a female, but they've got similar hairstyles. They've got similar, war paint.
Right.
So then once they turn gold, then I'm like, all right, I don't know who's who. The costumes that are not featured in this issue, other than on the cover, they are on the cover. The costumes do a good job of helping differentiate who's who. Right. And that's how they appeared on that cover of Wizard Magazine, too, as well, back in 1992, was in their costumes. And so,
gotcha.
So they look a little bit different. They actually look absolutely badass. I love the costume designs. I wish we would have seen them in costume in this issue. But again, this is just a real quick origins. Takes place over, 13 minutes?
Right.
Basically is the span of time that this issue takes place.
Right.
In terms of origins, it is very standard. Betrayed by their superiors, transformed into quote unquote superheroes, and then saved by this mysterious benefactor that she's able to recruit them. So pretty standard as far as first issues go, in my opinion. Let's talk about the art, Portacio's art. What are your thoughts on Portacio as an artist?
So I really like the artwork in it. Again, there's, of course, this being the first issue before they get their costumes, stuff like that. Like you said, hard to differentiate between the, different characters. There's a lot of action going on, so you really have to, you can't just read every panel. You have to really peruse it.
Yeah.
But I do like the artwork. Everyone in Image kind of seemed to have their own unique style, and Marvel at the time for me, picking up a Marvel book was almost exactly the same, no matter which title you were picking up.
Yes, there was definitely a Marvel in-house art style that they were using, and so many of these creators that went off to form Image, they didn't even necessarily adhere to that style while they were working within Marvel.
Right.
They were still kind of, for lack of a better term, the outsiders, and all of their work did stand out. Jim Lee's art is instantly recognizable versus whoever drew Silver Sable that we talked about last week.
Right.
Portacio's work on Uncanny X-Men, instantly recognizable. In fact, I think that I love the art in this. I don't think it is of the same caliber as his Uncanny X-Men art.
Oh, okay.
But I don't want to discount that. You don't know, based on what delayed the book, you don't necessarily know where he's at professionally, personally.
Right.
And so, the art is still really good. I just don't think it's as good as what I'd seen in some of his Uncanny X-Men work. I think the biggest letdown with this book for me is Brandon Choi's dialogue.
Yeah.
It's just so
it sounds
one
like
note. It's
it sounds
so
like
unoriginal.
every action movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's really the biggest downside for me with this book, is that the plot, it isn't terrible. The art's good. The dialogue is not good. I feel the concept of the team with their symbiotes fighting supernatural threats is very cool. I love the concept. I couldn't help but feel just it was a nice walk down memory lane a little bit, because I do remember reading this, back when I picked it up in like the mid 2000s, and I started to collect more of the series. I don't have a full run yet. I'm trying to get there.
Yeah.
But I still want to get there. I'm going to get this series completed, but I couldn't help but feel a little bit let down by the issue, just because I'm reading them like, oh man, this just reads so not good.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term.
Yeah. Now I did go ahead and read issue 2 as well.
Yeah.
It does get a little better in issue 2.
Yeah.
As far as like an origin story goes, though, it's very kind of cookie cutter, but
Right.
I would definitely, especially after reading, if I had just read issue 1 and stopped there and didn't have the option to read issue 2 right afterwards, I probably wouldn't have continued, maybe.
Yeah. But after in the same bag.
Yeah. But since they're in the same bag and I read issue 2, I was like, okay, yeah, I'd continue reading this.
Well, I mean, and maybe not surprisingly, this series ran for 4 years and 43 issues.
Oh, wow.
Which I don't think there was a lot of Image comics. I mean, you had your Wildcats, you had your Stormwatch, you had Spawn and Savage Dragon, which are still running today.
Yeah.
Those are really the two outliers. But there were so many done in 6 or done in 4, or you only got a single issue of it out. There was so much of that during this time that to have it run for 43 issues, I thought is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've got a few of these issues. I don't have anywhere near a complete run. I am looking to track down the rest of them. Now, there was a second series in 2006 that ran for 15 issues, I think it was. That I do have, all of. Or I did. I got to be honest, I don't know if I even kept them, because I don't recall liking it very much.
Oh, okay.
And that was written by Mike Carey and Whilce Portacio. I think he co-plotted that, and I know he did some of the pencils for the first few issues there too. But I didn't really care for that series as much. Some things that I think are very cool with this, and not just this, but kind of this and all of the larger Wildstorm universe, because you've got Wildcats, you've got Stormwatch, Deathblow. They're all part of this Wildstorm universe, and that's the Team 7 aspect, which you've got Team 7. That as a group kind of plays a major role throughout all of Wildstorm. It even had its own miniseries back in '94. You had characters featured that were part of Team 7 featured in other books heavily, like Backlash from Stormwatch, Grifter from Wildcats was part of Team 7. You had it was Michael Cray, the Death Blow was part of Team 7. Lynch from like Gen 13 was part of Team 7. And so there was this kind of cool overarching original starting point for several of these characters. It would be like if if you had like Punisher, Cyclops, Captain America, all part of like the same team before they were heroes, kind of thing.
Right.
And I'm sure Marvel's probably done something like that I'm overlooking at some point with a number of their characters. But that's what it would, in my opinion, what it would be like. So that's the book in the nutshell. Anything else that you want to add in the book? And then I got something else to share.
No, I think that's about it. I mean,
no.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, overall, I dug this issue. I think it's a cool series. I'm excited to hopefully get a whole run of it at some point. Now, what I was going to share is I just picked these up like last week, kind of on a whim, because I was like, oh man, I totally forgot about it. I had a few of them. I totally forgot about it. But back in like 94 to 94-ish, I think it was, maybe to 96, McFarlane Toys released Wetworks toys.
Oh, nice.
Did you have any of these or see any of these?
I didn't.
So we're going to bring them out here and I'll share them with you. So we've got Mother 1 with her robotic arm.
Nice.
We've got Mendoza, which or Dozer. So he's one of the big guys with the Gatling guns.
Nice.
Trying to get this set back up. Okay. We've got I love this figure. The vampire. How dope is
badass.
that? How cool is that sculpt?
That is very cool.
Right? This is all of the first series. Here's Dane. Here's the team leader with a pistol that I have no idea how you'd hold on to that.
Interesting. Yeah, it's like a pistol that's like designed to punish you for using it or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then we have, here is one of my favorite of the character designs, and that is Grail. And that bottom part's going to fall off. Ooh. I'm going to open these up anyway, so the package does not need to be mint.
Yeah, I'd say...
I'm going to open them and play with them.
I'd say of the ones here, the vampire is probably my favorite, but of the Wetworks team, I'd say Grail looks the coolest.
Yeah, Grail is easily the coolest. And then here is the werewolf.
All right, here, I'll trade you there.
Which is cool as well.
That's a neat design, too. I've always liked McFarlane toys anyway. Like, even if it's something as simple as like the NBA characters, or
McFarlane toys
players
were not made to be played with.
No.
They were made to just be looked at. I mean, you put them up on a shelf and they look kind of cool. In fact, if you look at the backs, a lot of the figures, like the Youngblood series, are like pre-posed.
Yeah.
Like Die Hard is pre-posed where you can't get him out of that squatty position.
Yeah.
But no, I had, as a kid, I still have like the vampire. I had a Grail figure. And I was looking these up and I was like, oh man, I totally forgot that they had these action figures. They actually had 2 series of these. There's another series as well, a series 2. And I went out and looked and I was able to get like all of these for like $30 shipped.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, sweet. I was like, so yeah, like I said, I'm going to go home and take them out, play with them. They've all got little bio cards that you can cut out and hold on to. Like for Grail, again, one of my favorites. It says, Captain Joel Allenday is a one-man killing machine. An expert in hand-to-hand combat, he is nevertheless one of the nicest and best-liked members of Wetworks. His private sorrow is that his fiancée and family believe he's dead. But he's also cultivating a personal relationship with Mother 1, the cold-hearted cyborg. He wants them bad handies.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought I would bring these in and share them. I thought they were pretty cool.
Very cool.
Well, anyways, that's what we got for you this time around. Check out this issue. It's some 90s goodness.
Yeah.
I dug it. Again, I know it maybe sounded like, oh, Jonah didn't really like it because he said the dialogue is shit. aside from all of that, I still really like this. It's Image Comics, especially Image 90 comics, have always been a guilty pleasure for me.
Oh yeah.
Like I've got some really, really bad ones that we'll talk about, I'm sure, at some point, and I still love them. Nice. And this is up there with those. So be sure to check them out. As always, we appreciate it. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. That way you'll get notified when new episodes launch, which is every Wednesday. Be sure to check out Raven X. He gave us the awesome theme song, so you can check out his stuff. Where can they find his stuff at?
Bandcamp. Hold on.
I'm putting him on the spot.
ravexmusic.bandcamp.com.
Boom. Excellent.
Yeah.
You can follow us on Facebook at The Number One Comics Podcast. Send us an email at thenumberonecomicpodcast@gmail.com. As always, appreciate the support, and we'll catch you next time. See ya.